Hi, my name's Byron Martin here at Logee's, and today we're going to be talking about a group of plants that produce spectacular flowers, that being the Heliconias. The Heliconias are a large genus of tropical plants that are related to the banana family, and they put out immense inflorescences. Some of them grow to 10, 15 feet tall, and others are quite dwarf. Today we're going to be talking about a variety called rostrata, which is the lobster claw. It's a very showy tropical shrub with these chains of flowers that pendulate out of the growth that emerge from a rhizome that grows in the base. So the plant itself forms a clump of many of these tall, sort of like strelitzia or bird of paradise leaves or a banana leaf. And after a period of time, once these growths have matured, the flowers emerge out of the tops, much like a banana would do. They're quite easy to grow, and there are a few things that as container growers we need to pay attention to. First being that fertilizer can be an issue with them. And our culture here at Logee's, we found that when we put them on high feed levels, we often get damage to the leaves. So they really have a somewhat of a lower, they do need fertilizer, but they have a somewhat of a lower demand for fertilizer. So in terms of their culture, you want to make sure that if you're using liquid feeds, that you flush them periodically. If you're top dressing with a granular, organic usually is not a problem, but if it's a slow release, just go easy on it. The other thing about their culture is they do like it warm. They're not plants that tolerate really cold conditions. So in a cool greenhouse where we won't go down to 50 degrees at night and such, they really suffer terribly. In the south, South Florida, where they grow many of these, if they get cold snaps, the damage can be to the foliage to some degree, but they usually recover from that. But in the north here, if we were growing them in a sunroom or a greenhouse or conservatory where temperatures were cool, like growing camellias and things like such, that's not a place to grow them. They really want to be above 60 if we can keep them like that. Their flowering cycle is often seasonal, so this particular one tends to flower for us in the summertime, although it can flower on and off whenever they're mature, the growth is mature. The other thing about Heliconias is the flowers last for a long time. They're on there, they can be on there for like months and still be beautiful. So you do get a very long flowering cycle out of them once they start to bloom. Generally what happens is there's a rhizome where the growth is growing along in a direction, and a growth comes out, not unlike a banana, and then it matures, and if the light conditions and the growing conditions were optimum, a flower bud will form at the base, and it runs right up through the center of this stem and then emerges out of the top, and they all grow like that. So when they finish flowering, generally what we do is we will often divide them up, split the pots up because they can get very large, and then you can cut off some of those old back growths if necessary. Don't cut too many. You want to, if they're starting to yellow, that's a good time to do it. Remember, it's almost like any rhizome plant. There's always energy in the back of the plant that's moving the plant forward, so you don't want to prune them too hard. So you can cut off damaged leaves. You can trim back leaves that have finished flowering and are kind of spent, but make sure you leave plenty of growth on them, and then they can be divided. And that is simply a matter of just chopping them up into pieces. Generally we take, you can even go down with no foliage on them, generally leave at least some foliage on them, and make splits or pot them up if they need to be repotted to make a larger plant. They really don't have a lot of problems with insects. This particular variety we found, rostrata, for some reason tends to get damage from slugs. You can see there was a slug that had climbed up there and chewed into the leaf a little bit. So root rot can be a problem, that's root diseases, if they're grown cold and wet. And under those conditions we can see damage to the root systems. Thank you for watching. There's a little bit of information on growing the Heliconia. This particular one is called our lobster claw. If you'd like more information, go to logees.com.